Today on The Human Side of Sports, we are talking about Julio Rodriguez and the Seattle Mariners and the humongous contract extension, 14 years, over $200 million guaranteed, with upwards of $450 million in potential cash for the rookie phenom. Let's go. So this contract, it got me thinking, can you really build a World Series team from a giant albatross of a contract like this one? If you look at Julio Rodriguez, he's had a great rookie campaign, made the opening day roster, all-star selection, nearly won the home run derby, and has the first 2020 season as a rookie since 1995's Marty Cordova. I was thinking of this in the context of the Mariners and the contracts that they have doled out over the years. Their latest and biggest being King Felix at 7 years, $175 million. But even A-Rod and Ken Griffey's biggest contracts were no more than $34 million for 4 years. As the Mariners make a push to the playoffs, being in the wildcard hunt and owning the third wildcard spot, does this mean the Mariners are all in? How does something like this affect a player's psyche? If you know you're about to get paid the most money you have ever had in your life, and definitely the most money your team has ever shelled out on one single player, does the pressure build? What does that do to a guy like Julio Rodriguez, who's only a rookie? We haven't seen more than a season from him. The last guy to get a contract like this was Wander Franco, and I remember watching him in the playoffs against Boston. He was amazing, but he had only played in like part of the season. I think it was maybe 100 total days in the majors and was offered a big deal from Tampa. So the question remains, can you build a World Series team off of a big albatross contract? If we turn back the clocks to 1979, Nolan Ryan for the Houston Astros signed the first contract in baseball history that was worth over $1 million per year. The contract in total was $4.25 million. He would earn just a little over $1 million each successive year of that contract. But did that Astros team win a World Series? No. Look, I'm not saying you can't build a World Series roster with a bunch of money. Look at the Yankees. Look at the Red Sox. Look at what the Mets are trying to do this year. Max Scherzer, $130 million. Francisco Lindor, over $300 million. And now that they have Jacob deGrom back, I think the Mets are going to make a real push, even though the Braves are looking to repeat as World Series champs out of the NL East. Look at Juan Soto. Turned down $440 million, 15-year deal from the Nationals, so he can go to the Padres, test his luck in the free agent market, and hopefully sign a big extension. Bryce Harper has a huge contract. Giancarlo Stanton has a huge contract. Mike Trout, huge contract. But how many of these guys have a good chance to win the World Series? So I went back, did a little homework, and here is my theory. So how many teams have signed a huge player, and then that player on that team went on to win a World Series with that team? Let's start with the top 10 biggest contracts in the majors. Mookie Betts, 12 years, $365 million. Team that he signed with, the Dodgers, won the 2020 World Series. Number 2, Mike Trout, Angels, 10 years, $360 million. Signed that in 2019, and the Angels, they are not playing well. Nowhere near sniffing the playoffs. Francisco Lindor, Mets, 10 years, $341 million. Fernando Tatis, probably the most sad of this list, 14 years, $340 million, and just got popped for PEDs right before the playoffs. The guy's getting paid way too much money to be messing with PEDs, but that's a whole other story, because we all know, if you're a baseball fan, guys juice to get the big money. Giancarlo Stanton, Marlins, 13 year, $325 million deal, now being absorbed by the Yankees, and the Yankees nor the Marlins have been to the World Series since. Miguel Cabrera signed a deal back in 2014. It was 8 years, $248 million. This coming on the heels of the Red Sox knocking them out of the ALCS from some typical Big Papi heroics. But the Tigers, no World Series. Nolan Arenado, Colorado Rockies, 7 years, $235 million. Rockies, World Series? No. Joey Votto, Reds, 10 years, $225 million, not going to the World Series. Clayton Kershaw, Dodgers, 7 years, $215 million. Yes, in 2020, him and Mookie Betts after getting their big contract extensions, won the World Series. And number 10, Derek Jeter, signed his deal in 2001, just before that season got started. The Yankees would go on to make it to the World Series, but would be defeated by the Arizona Diamondbacks in 7 games on a bloop single to center field by Luis Gonzalez. So the big deal for Jeter came after all the World Series victories. The Yankees would go on to win one in 2009 with Jeter and A-Rod, but only one. So of that top 10 list, only 2 teams and 3 players achieved a World Series after signing huge contract extensions. So what's the final verdict here? Will splurging and spending mad cash on Julio Rodriguez lead the Mariners to the World Series? It's possible. If you get a hit 3 times out of 10, you're batting 300, that's all-star numbers, that's Hall of Fame numbers for your career. And if Seattle wins the World Series this year, or any time during this contract they sign with Julio Rodriguez, you're gonna raise that average up to 363. 4 out of 11, that's Hall of Fame numbers right there. So I say to you, Mariners, spend that money, honey.